Hello again, Reg Techies. Welcome to the only podcast that helps employers and recruiters connect with more candidates through technology-inspired conversations. Attracting talent through recruiting technologies change rapidly, and that's why this show exists. Today's episode is an employer edition. This podcast is sponsored by HR Lancers, the Upwork for HR. If your company is looking for recruiting or HR help on a part-time, project, or contract basis, head over to hrlancers.com to post a job or project, or even browse available freelancers looking for work right now. It's free and easy. Again, hrlancers.com. All right, so Team Lewis, a global marketing agency, recently announced that it's retiring the resume. The initiative is one of many aimed at opening doors to career changers and non-degree holders. It will offer job seekers the opportunity to choose a career based on what they want to be and how they want to change the world. Quote, in a world that is relentlessly digital, video first, and unbound from convention, we have to recognize that the unique combination of talent and aspiration we're looking for can and does come from anywhere and everywhere, says our guest today, Hillary Werronen. Hillary, it's great to have you, and I love the topic here. So thanks for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. We're excited about this change that we're making and excited to chat about it with you today as well.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of these stories over the 20 years I've been in this business. So when I saw the press release you guys put out, it definitely caught my eye, and I had to have you on the show. So first of all, set the scene for us, if you could, just about the business itself. How big is Team Lewis? How many employees do you have? And how many folks you typically hire in a regular year, for example?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Team Lewis, as you mentioned, global marketing agency. We're global. We have about 600 employees worldwide. In terms of our growth, we've been growing consistently for 25 years at this point, and we have to hire and grow to be able to meet the needs of the industry and the growth that we're experiencing. This last year has been an interesting example of that. I know that a lot of industries have kind of struggled through the COVID pandemic, but we've actually been continuing to experience growth and even some higher growth than we've seen tracking in the past couple of years. So in order to scale for that, we've needed to make some changes, and retiring the resume was one of those things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
We'll get to sort of the how this works and things like that, but were you seeing about the change? Were you seeing that what you were currently doing or what you previously were doing was not working? Is that what initiated all this?
I think it was working, but it wasn't working as quickly as we needed it to. So the hypothesis was just that a lot is happening in the industry right now, and many of our clients are in the tech space, and tech is one of the industries that's been hit hardest by the great resignation that folks are talking about right now. So we needed to hire quickly to be able to meet the needs that we had as an organization, both retaining our talent and also recruiting additional talent. And our hypothesis was just that people were looking for a change right now. And there are only so many things in your life that you can change. You can change your relationships, you can change where you live, you can change where you work. And oftentimes changing where you work is the thing that people do because it's the easiest. And the hypothesis also is that people were considering their priorities in life and kind of who they wanted to be, what they wanted to do to make a difference in the world outside of kind of just their job. And so we wanted to open up our opportunities to people from many different walks of life, and just break down barriers as much as possible so that we had a huge diversity of candidates to be able to reach that we hadn't potentially reached in the past with our typical recruitment efforts and methods.
Okay. And speaking of that, did you have an ATS in place before all this?
We do, yes, and we've continued to use an ATS as well. We've actually been going through a migration of some of our platforms to find ones that work the best for us. But I think for this initiative, it was more about the awareness of our company because it's a busy space and it's a loud space. And so certainly, depending on our ATS in the background, we still need to use that for tracking purposes. But we wanted to make the entry point as easy as possible. And just make ourselves available and have more of an open-ended kind of human conversation with people, so that it wasn't just, here's a job description, do you fit the bullets that are on this page? And then having people present kind of a printed or a written long form resume. It's more having a conversation about what types of things they want to do, and then potentially matching a job opportunity that could work for them, or in some cases, even creating a new job opportunity that works for them and their experience.
Yeah. How long has it been live at this point?
Actually, just a week at this
A week,
point.
okay. So
But
brand new, okay.
Yeah, it is brand new. It's something that we've been talking about for a long time. And as you mentioned, also retiring the resume is an idea that's been out there. Well, I should say that you've probably seen, companies announcing that the resume
Many
is
have
dead.
tried, few have succeeded.
Yeah. The resume is dead is something that we've seen, but I don't know if many companies have been bold enough to actually make that move to retire the resume from the initial parts of the process. And so that's what we're doing. And I think we've had some pretty good successes so far.
What's been the response so far from the candidates? I mean, have you heard from them? Are they confused about it? Were they going to get it at all?
Yeah, we definitely have heard from candidates. One of the ways that we're making it easy is just allow people to share their LinkedIn profile with us. But we've been reaching out to everybody that responds to us and provides their information and at least shows some interest. So that's certainly been an endeavor for our engagement team to reach out to every single person to talk about what the next steps might be for them.
Yeah, let me share my screen so we can show the audience what this kind of looks like. And I want to get a few questions for you here.
There we go. There it is.
All right. So describe for me this page here, like walk me through this here and tell me exactly what happens from the time a job seeker hits this to the time they submit their LinkedIn URL, I guess.
Yeah, it's we designed this to be as simple as possible. Again, just trying to break down barriers and allow people to express themselves. So what we're seeing now for the listeners is it's a white landing page, and in black type, it says, what type of do you want to be? And then there's a form fill box where they can type in whether they want to be a cheerleader, or I'm reading off choreographer, believer, adventurer, anything that kind of ends in ER. Once they do that, it serves up, if you want to go ahead and type one in, maybe a podcaster or something. Well, I'm not sure if podcaster is one we have in our database.
Reporters in there. We'll go with that.
Reporter. We'll go with reporter. It serves up a fun GIF. Who are we seeing there?
I
think it's an SNL GIF that we have down in the bottom. But if you click on let us know, it'll just give you a form that asks you for your name and your LinkedIn URL. And then we can reach out to people for that. So on the back end, it gathers.
So I submit this, and where does it go?
Yep, it gathers into a database that we've designed on the back end and generates an email to our whole careers team. And then the careers team divvies up based on region, and mostly based on region as the first. And we take a look, and then we are reaching out to people based on that information that they provide.
Okay, there's also view all open vacancies. So I imagine that goes to your ATS.
It does go to our all opportunities page, so you can learn a little bit more about careers at Team Lewis and what's available. It's interesting, even in just the first week's worth of data that we've gotten from this, that more people are interested in putting in their information and hearing from us than they are actually following through and looking at every single one of the job opportunities.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's been pretty overwhelming results for that.
Yeah. Like, could you share a number in terms of how many people filled that in so far?
I think it's in the hundreds at this point of people who have filled it in, and we've done a little bit of a soft launch of this, but we have kind of a whole sheet full of people that have reached out to us and who we're going to be then reaching out to them. But I think in terms of filling in the form versus looking at job opportunities, it's probably only 5% of people that click through to the job opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. But you can still look at the jobs, and it looks like you're using Bamboo HR as the ATS there. Have you been happy with them overall?
Yeah, we're really just in the initial phases and rolling it in as a test in the US. We're working with them in some other regions.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see here. So let's go back to the page here. So that's basically all the page is. So um, the sort of take me through these names here. What do you want to, what type of ER do you want to be? Like, can you maybe just walk me through how that came about, sort of the ideation of that, and how you came up with these different there's all kinds of stuff in here, like
Yeah,
publisher, put
we've
together, queer,
crowdsourced.
Quicksilver.
Uh,
I don't know what's a Quicksilver.
yeah, we spent some time as a team, some folks from marketing and our engagement team, new biz leads from all over the place, the creative team to put together. And that's not an all-inclusive list. I believe you can kind of put in whatever you want. And if it
Oh yeah.
doesn't recognize your ER, it'll give you a suggestion or ask you to try again. But we put a lot of thought into what types of ERs people might put in, and kind of built that database on a crowdsourcing exercise on our part.
And for the listeners, it's teamlewis.com/ER. Is that correct?
Yep,
Is the
that's it.
URL. So go check it out on your own. And let me stop my screen share at this point. So let's see here. So how do you think you're going to measure success out of this, Hillary? What's, what are you looking at from a long time horizon here as far as how you're measuring this and whether or not it's going to be successful?
Well, I come from a marketing background, so of course we have some of the metrics in terms of what the actual cost is of bringing new applicants to us that we have not talked to before. But I think the long-term success is going to be the success of those individuals once they actually are in the door and part of the Team Lewis group. We've seen already at Team Lewis that we have a fairly diverse group of individuals, and some of the team members that are the most impactful and most influential here are ones that don't necessarily have degrees or come from different backgrounds, or so we're excited to see these actual new people and new faces and new backgrounds, and I think the impact that they'll have will be the success that we ultimately see from the program. So it's a bit of a slow burn. It's not something that we'll see success in overnight. It'll be something that takes a while, but we intend to continue on this path and see how it goes. So,
well, they say in the recruiting industry that recruiting is marketing, and you guys are a marketing firm. So first of all, I give you a lot of credit for doing something like this and putting it out there. And I think, if you're looking at it from what I think is a sort of a lead generation standpoint. And correct.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're a global marketing agency, but creativity is at the core of us. And this has been a really great example and really fun to work on internally as well. It's that marriage of marketing and recruiting is marketing, and also just letting the creative shine through as well. There was a lot of thought that went into this, and we hope that it's something that shows kind of who we are as an agency and the fact that we are doing things differently in a number of different ways. This is an outward facing kind of program, but we've made a lot of changes internally to expand programs as well that are focused on retention, which is just as important as recruitment as well, I think.
Yep. Will you sort of use that URL, that page now, sort of your primary employment advertising channel for the business?
For the foreseeable future, yeah. We're intending this to run for at least a number of months at the beginning, and then we'll evaluate and see how it goes. That's kind of how you do it with any marketing initiative or engagement initiative. But we're seeing good success so far, and it's even kind of continuing. The improvements that we're seeing are continuing over time. So I think for the foreseeable future, we certainly will.
Yeah, at the top of the show, you talked about, you said it was things were working, but it weren't working as quickly as you wanted to. And I think that points to the importance of speed in the hiring process, right?
Yeah.
Just touching that briefly, if you could, in terms of how quickly this sort of speeds up the process for you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We actually had an interesting milestone. I think we made 19 offers this week, which is a very solid number to make across our global network. We have another kind of initiative that we're working on right now called the Rise Academy as well, which again is focused on bringing individuals who don't necessarily have a degree or a marketing background per se, and giving them lots of on-the-job training so that they can work and earn a living, of course, while also kind of learning about marketing. So that's something that we're working on as well.
Gotcha. My last question is, I can hear employers already pushing back on this, Hillary. We can't do that. That's not how we can, we have to worry about compliance, all sort of stuff, right? So tell me why other companies should adopt something like this.
I think it's all about new talent. I mean, again, we've seen success with programs sort of like this in the past. It hasn't been disruptive in terms of bringing people on board. We're also, not telling people that they can't submit a resume at any point during the process. Sure. This is just a way to kind of start that conversation and make the process more human. So, I mean, maybe it's not something that every company wants to do. We've talked about it for a little while, but I think we had across the board buy-in that we wanted to do something that was different. We wanted to do something that would change the way that our process is working right now. I'm reminded of your last question, which I neglected to answer, which was about how it affected the speed of our bringing people on board. I think it went a little off track there, but it has impacted, and it's been one of the efforts that have impacted the speed of bringing people on board. We track that, and we've tracked it more closely over the last year or so in terms of when somebody had the first conversation with us to when they've actually been brought on board, and that has gone down over time. I don't have the exact numbers on it, but we've also kind of taken a look at our process, and instead of having a laborious multi-step process where you do, a phone screen and then another interview and then another interview and then a panel interview and a project, and sometimes you go through many, many steps, we have to move faster than that. And so we have shortened our process, and in some cases we've combined steps to make sure that we're both being thorough, but we're also moving through quickly so that we don't have any unnecessary steps. So we've tried a lot of different variations of that and have settled in on processes that I think are working quite well right now.
Very cool. A quick follow-up. So once someone does submit the LinkedIn URL, you said it goes to your entire team. Let's say, okay, I'm a recruiter on your team, and I call that candidate, or I connect with them. And let's say you want to hire them at some point. So is that all they have to do as far as the candidate goes? Do you then go and manually input them into your ATS system or whatever it is, and kind of officially kind of onboard them that way?
Yeah, I believe that's what the team is doing. And there have even been some cases already where there's somebody that has shown interest and we've had a conversation with them, and there might not be an opportunity that's a perfect fit right now, but we're kind of making sure that we are tracking them so that we can be in contact at a later date if there's something else that changes.
Awesome. Well, I wish you luck, Hillary, and Team Lewis, and I'd love to talk to you maybe in a year or so and follow up on all this and see what the long-term results have been. I think it'll be really interesting to hear those. So definitely I want you to come back and talk to us next year.
I would love to. Yeah, we're excited to see the impact that it has as well. And hopefully a year from now, we have, a ton of new talent, and we're continuing the growth trajectory, and I'll be able to share some additional success stories from this program.
Awesome. Well, Hillary from Team Lewis, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
All right. That will do it for this episode of the RegTech Podcast. Be sure to follow us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn via the @RegTech Media handle. See every podcast, video, and blog we publish. Thanks for listening or watching, everyone. And remember, always be recruiting. All right. That's a wrap. You are done.
Ooh, all right. Thank you.